Hello and welcome back to our weekly stream news, team news. I can't even remember what the name of it's called. It's been so long since we did this. Basically, if you've not seen this before, every single week Neale joins me to talk through all the latest team news, that's injuries, lineups, any major things that have happened in kind of press conferences and stuff, which is the reason it's done on a Friday, because obviously all the press conferences pretty much usually have been done by this point. So if you don't already subscribe, make sure you do. Hit that like button and I'll say hello to Neale. How are you doing?
I'm all right, Andy. Yep. Yeah, it's live this, of course, so we can't re-record the intro like we sometimes do. One of us usually botches something up, usually me.
Nah,
But
come
yeah,
on. What you mean is it's me, and I've just cocked it up again, but it's live now, so I've just got to roll with it. Yeah, how are you feeling today? Only less than 24 hours to go now.
yeah, it's very busy as you can imagine. I mean, at least the saving grace is that there's four teams who aren't in action this weekend, competitive action anyway. So it's slightly easier on the press conference front, but still very busy. I mean, it's obviously our busiest time of year before game week one, so there's been a lot to try and do this week. And yeah, I think I've just finished the last of the press conferences today. Not all of them seen all the way through. I'll be doing that steadily throughout the day, but seen all the headlines anyway. From the 10 we've had today, and we had 6 yesterday. So we'll rattle through them now.
Yeah, we'll go through all the news in this one. Obviously, like Neale says, if there's any extra info that comes out later on, keep following us on Twitter and on the site as well. There'll be a team news kind of roundup article later on today. All right, let's start with a team that's had, I don't know, 50 new signings this season, Chelsea, but a few of them are going to be missing out from game week one, I believe.
They are, yeah. So Ziyech and Ben Chilwell are the two new signings. They're both out. The former is going to be a couple of weeks. I think Chilwell might be a slightly bit longer, but both making good progress. But yeah, they won't be ready to feature. Thiago Silva as well, very unlikely to be
Today. All right,
involved. I think
let's
he's only going to start training with his new teammates on Saturday or Sunday. Chelsea's in action on Monday night, so or longer term absentee. And Kovacic is banned as well, so he's got a one-match suspension from the FA Cup final. So they're down a few bodies, but they've still got plenty of options, and they're both back in contention. I think Aspilicueta played a little bit in pre-season. I think he might have got half of football. But Pulisic is freshly back in training. Now, Lampard says they are in contention for Monday night, but he said they would have to be managed both back in their own ways. So whether he was pointing us in the direction of a benching, you think about what happened when Pulisic last had an injury, which was around about game week 37, when he started on the bench at Anfield. Lampard obviously not risking him for the cup final and anything thereafter. But yeah, I wonder, given his lack of preseason minutes and that sentence from Lampard, whether he might be an impact sub for game week one, especially as there are trickier tests coming around the corner, such as Liverpool in game week two. So yeah, Werner has played in pre-season. We'll expect him to feature. Kai Havertz, I think we might have thought he would be a substitute at first, and that might still be the case. But apparently, I've seen reports from the Athletic and elsewhere saying that he's really impressed in his time on the training ground. And I think with injuries elsewhere, then he might be fast tracked into a start. So yeah, still plenty of options for Lampard. And you look in any different newspaper publication, the predicted team, they're all going to be different, and myself included. No one quite knows what he's going to do because he's got a lot of options. But yeah, that's the headline team news anyway. The two newbies who are out, and a third in Thiago Silva, who is probably not going to be involved this weekend.
Yeah, it's a difficult one, the Pulisic versus Havertz, because I'm pretty tempted to go with one of them. And I know that Havertz is probably more like to start, but I know Pulisic is the one I want longer, probably longer term. So it'll be interesting to see, whether Pulisic starts and whether people take a chance on him. Let's go over to another big club, Liverpool. I don't think there's a few injury worries, right? But it's not any of the kind of main men that we would probably be considering.
Nah, it's all quiet, and in that regard, in terms of the big hitters, unless there's anything Klopp hasn't disclosed, but he said that his squad's in good shape. There's 3 who have had a disrupted pre-season, so Henderson, Shaqiri, and Tsimikas, who's the new deputy left back for Robertson. I think there was rumours of him testing or certainly self-isolating with regard to COVID. So, but they're all back in training. Klopp says they're going to make a late call on that trio. I think the only one we really know about who's injured is Oxlade-Chamberlain. He wasn't mentioned this morning, but he was a big doubt for game week 1, so I'm assuming he hasn't made it. But otherwise, if we're to believe Klopp, then they're in a good position fitness wise.
Sounds good. See how they get on for their first 3 game weeks, which are a fairly tough start, but it is the former champions, so I'm sure they'll be fine. We heard something from Man United, I believe. Obviously, Man United are blanking, but a few people are obviously going to be looking to potentially bring their players in for game week 1 and hold on to them. Did we get much news there outside of kind of Luke Shaw and stuff like that?
Not that I've seen. You might be able to correct me, but Man United have got a friendly. It's a hastily arranged friendly against Villa this weekend. So Luke Shaw is going to be taking part in that. He's been out since the end of last season, but he's recovered. I think it just leaves Twanzebe on the sidelines for now. But Solskjaer said he's going to give minutes to a lot of players in this pre-season friendly. They haven't actually had any of those yet because of their late finish in the Europa League and because some of their players have been away on international duty as well. So, they'll be in action this weekend, not competitive. And Shaw is back, which obviously could have ramifications for anyone who was considering Brandon Williams, for example.
Yeah, I think a few people clutching at Shaw's. I think with Brandon Williams, if Luke Shaw's fit, there's no way he's getting that left back spot most games. I'm actually thinking of getting Shaw in myself, so it's good to know that he's back training. But I don't know about Man United players. It's just a little bit worrying to have to get them before you even see them play. So I might even go back on that. What about I've got Crystal Palace up next. They had a lot of injuries last year, at the end of last year anyway. Are they still looking the same now?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, it's got worse if anything. So they're down 2 forwards in Benteke and the lesser spotted Connor Wickham. And they are still without 5 defenders going to Hodgson. So that's Cahill, Sacco and Tompkins, all centre halves. Van Aanholt, who's first choice left back. And new signing Nathan Ferguson, it was a lot of people's go-to 4 million defender in FPL. Now, Sacco made his first training appearance today, which suggests he's not going to be ready for the weekend, given he's been out for 2 or 3 months. Ferguson has just started reintegrating into training, going to Hodgson, so might not be too far away, but definitely not for this weekend. And they've got one other guy, the new signing, whose name I'm going to butcher now. I think, is it Eze?
Yeah, I think that's right. Yeah, no, it's not easy.
Yeah.
It's not. It's Eze, I think.
I did see a video of him because I even looked this up. I saw a video of him describing how to pronounce his name, and I forget now already. But I think it's Eze. He is technically fit, according to Hodgson. He got a minor groin problem in a pre-season game. He's only played 45 minutes, and hence why Hodgson since said that he's not 100% match fit. So you may have seen by now the 75% flag in FPL, which says a lack of match fitness. So he could be involved. It's just whether or not Hodgson risks him from the start, given that he's only had one half of football since moving in the summer.
What's your thoughts on the 4 million defenders? Are you going to get Mitchell or Ferguson in your game one squad? Do you think?
None of them are really either nailed beyond game week 1 or ready for action. So in Ferguson's case, I think he's probably the best of the bunch long term. I think he's got the best chance of kneeling down to start. I think he's seen as a long-term option at right back over Joel Ward, and he's versatile as well. He can fit in at centre half or at left back even. At the moment, you have to say it's Mitchell because Van Aanholt is back on the training ground, I think, doing individual work. And he's still a little way away. So in terms of a game week 1 starter, it would look like to me, and it's not a guarantee, Mitchell, because he has played every match in pre-season. The first one, I think it was Riedewald playing at left back, but then he moved into midfield after someone got injured. And then since then, Mitchell's played the rest of pre-season at left back. So you would think, based on that evidence, you can never be completely sure, but if you're going off pre-season lineups and minutes, then Hodgson seems to favour Mitchell at left back in game week 1. But I think really elsewhere, there's very little to choose from. There isn't a Lundstrom this season, not yet. Ferguson might become not Lundstrom, but someone like Wan-Bissaka was 2 seasons ago. In that he's a playing defender who will get clean sheets and little else. But it's slim pickings this year. I think we were spoiled with Lundstrom last year, and there's no one really like him, unfortunately.
There'll never be anyone like Lundstrom again, I don't think. You never know, but I don't think there will. Did he say anything about? Sorry if you. I don't know if you mentioned. I was reading chat to see what people were looking at, interested in about Batshuayi. Was there any mention about him at all?
Yes. Yeah, sorry, I should have mentioned him. Yeah, he's declared himself fit. Batshuayi, he took it upon himself to do that. I think he went away with Belgium in national duty. So yeah, he's fit. I think he'll be involved. I think he might not start. I think this happened last time he actually signed for Palace on loan. I think he may be a bench option at first. Now, Palace have been playing a 4-4-2 in pre-season, so there's potentially two striking spots, but Zaha's been occupying one of those alongside Ayew, who was like a near ever-present last season. So could be just impact sub at first, and then we'll see where the ground lies after that. But yeah, I think is he 6 million in FPL?
Yeah,
So
6. There's a lot of 6 million strikers this year.
yeah, Ayew being one of them.
Yeah, whether or not they'll be any good is a different matter. But there's a lot more than last year. I feel like there's a lot more that could be good this year. So, I've got a £6 million placeholder right now, who could be swapped to someone else down the line. I don't know. Batshuayi is like one of those players. I always feel like he should be better than he's shown in the league so far.
Yeah.
Whether or not Crystal Palace is the place to show that, we'll see. But I suppose with Eze and Zaha either side, it could be decent down the road, but probably not one to start with. Let's move on to Leicester, another team that had quite a few injuries and suspensions at the back end of last season, which hasn't really changed, has it?
No, Johnny Evans. I'd originally had him down first in the first, but the way the Carabao Cup's working, he'll just miss game weeks 1 and 2, and then the third match of his 3-match ban will be in the League Cup. So he's out for the first 2 game weeks anyway. They've got Pereira still out. Roger says he's making good progress, but still a few weeks away. Now, he did say that Maddison and Christian Fuchs have trained this week, so I'll have to look more into that. I don't know if that means they're just back involved in the training ground, or whether they're actually close to featuring in game week 1, because Fuchs, I think, was originally out till end of September at least. And Wes Morgan has joined the training in Carter half. So, yeah, it could be a bit of a makeshift patched up back four. Justin's played as a centre-half in a 3, so it's a possibility that he could go there. Maybe with Morgan in the middle or with Ndidi in the middle. Because Rogers has said this afternoon that he'll have no hesitation in playing the new signing, who is Castagna, I think his name is, he's a Belgian international, signed from Atlanta. He's capable of playing on either flank. So it might be that he's a longer-term replacement for Thomas, left wing back, but needs most at the moment. He might be pressed in action at right wing back if Justin's playing at centre half, for example. So he could be involved. And he's someone I'll have an eye on as well, because I think he had a bit of an attacking reputation at Atlanta.
Yeah, Leicester's defence was pretty good last year when everyone was fit. It's just waiting for all those injuries to kind of clean up and stuff. I think that's the only annoying thing that I wish I hadn't seen that about. The fact that Ndidi could play in a back 3, so they could play Morgan, but it could just be Soyuncu, Ndidi, and James Justin. That would be annoying because a lot of people going for him, hoping he plays as a fullback. You're not going to be anywhere near as attacking as a centre back, but we'll have to wait and see exactly what happens there. Let's talk about your team, Newcastle. It's a bit like Chelsea, just buying everyone under the sun. Any chance of those new boys all starting? Do you think?
Yeah, it could be. Wilson and Lewis have been given clearance to play, I think. Fraser, I think, are still waiting on a few things, and he yesterday. So he might be perhaps bench option at first while he builds up match fitness, because I think he's been training by himself. But Wilson and Lewis, they could be fast-tracked, I think, especially up front, given that Gale's out until January. So we're really short of options there, convincing ones anyway. Poor Joe Linton. And we've got a raft of issues elsewhere. I think Clark and Dummett aren't quite right yet, according to Bruce. Shelby should be okay, according to Bruce's last quotes. Richie touch and go with a calf problem, but he's at least trained. And Fabian Schär is out, as well as Dubravka as well, which many people would have seen in pre-season. So it'll be Carl Darlow between the posts. Dubravka, I think, will be out for at least until the other side of the next international break. Possibly longer. So he'll be between the sticks for now, which is really
just £5 million.
Well, I was going to say, I don't think anyone's going to be tempted in FPL in fan team where he's 4 million, maybe more so. But yeah, why would you go there? Because he's not as good a keeper, basically. I mean, I don't want to insult the guy, but having seen both of them in action over the past few seasons, he's just not the same caliber. And I think Newcastle's defence already slightly less solid than what it was because of the changing system to a back four. I think it's further weakened by Darlow being there, unless he turns into Gordon Banks like in the next 3 or 4 game weeks. But from what I've seen of him, can be quite flat-footed, and I'm not expecting a deluge of clean sheets in the opening weeks. But I hope they prove me wrong. Obviously, being a fan.
And yeah, as a fan, quick question: how many of them are going to be in your team?
None at present, but that was before Wilson signed, and that was before
changer.
Fraser signed. Yeah, Wilson's an option. I mean, he tends to start the season quite well. Certainly did. Was it 7 game weeks in a row he scored last season? So he traditionally a decent start. I think this may be a bit of a confidence boost for him because I think he was running on empty at Bournemouth towards the end. And we will get chances for him. I mean, we Almiron and St Maximin playing just off him. Richie, if he's selected, Fraser when he's fit. Obviously, they've got a really good relationship, the two of those. I think it's just the fact that there's other options in that 6.5 bracket, like Wood. I think I prefer Wood over Wilson. Obviously, fixture dependent. Burnley don't play in game week 1, but I think he'd be my pick. And Antonio's that price as well. So I think he's got it all to prove, and Newcastle have as well because we're not traditionally high scorers. So I think it's a monitor for me.
It sounded good anyway, so I'll say it. It's a guy called Joe McCabe who tweeted me and said he's delighted that 4 of the 6 players to wear the number 9 shirt since Shearer are still at the club. So apparently Gale, Carroll, Joelinton and Wilson are 4 of the 6 that have worn it since Shearer, which was ages ago, and they're still all there. So maybe the number 9 shirt just doesn't get passed around that much, I don't know, but there you go. There's an interesting snippet for you. Let's go on to West Ham, and we've got a great picture of the man. This is the only person that anyone wants to know anything about from West Ham. Souček should be fine, right?
He should be, yeah. According to Moyes in his press conference, he's back and all fine. He's been self-isolating in the Czech Republic when he was on international duty. Now, he hasn't trained in that time. So whether he's lost the degree of sharpness, he'll have been keeping fit by himself, of course, but there's been no team training until the latter part of this week when he's rejoined his West Ham teammates. But he did feature in 2 pre-season friendlies, so it's not like he's starting from scratch. So he's already played for West Ham in pre-season. So given how important he was at the back end of the season, and given how abysmal they were last weekend when they got beat 5-3 off Bournemouth, when they played a midfield 2 of Noble and Lanzini, which is odd, I think he could be pushed straight back into action. There's a possibility. I mean, Rice will be back in for certain, and then it's whether he trusts Noble alongside him, or as we saw towards the end of the season, Souček and Rice as the sort of deeper 2, and then Noble slightly in front. And that brought them great success at the end of the season. They had a pretty settled side. They had Fornals and Bowen, especially. I think Bowen's pretty much nailed on his form. Probably their form play on pre-season, actually. What we did see, actually, in the final warm-up game against Bournemouth was a 4-4-2. So Haller and Antonio playing together. Haller's actually been the better of the 2 in pre-season. But I think given that they conceded 5 goals in that system, I wonder if that will shunt Moyes back towards what he was playing beforehand with just 1 up front. I mean, this would be a match to play 4-4-2, given it's against Newcastle, but I think they're trickier fixtures to come from game weeks 2 to 7. You'd think there might be one up top from that point. So, yeah, Antonio hasn't looked himself in pre-season, but you'd think his form after lockdown ended would stand him in good stead with Moyes. And I guess it's just the age-old question of fitness with him, which he seemed to have answered at the end of the season. But I think he took a knock in pre-season. I think he got knocked to his hip.
Yeah, he did at one point. He went off.
Yeah,
it's the thing with him.
Around last.
Ever since he's been an option in FPL, I feel like every single season, without doubt, there's always a time when Antonio is a great option, but it's always very short. It's always a short period because either he gets put back on the wing, or he's playing like right wing back or something, or playing right back even. Yeah. I think he's done at some point.
Yeah,
or he gets or he gets injured, and like when he plays up front, he's brilliant. But it just doesn't happen often enough. So I'm kind of a little bit put off starting with him. But Souček, like, it just feels like one of those players, if he is fit, there is no way he doesn't start, I think. So I think anyone that's looking at him for their team, I mean, obviously, I might be incorrect, but that's my gut feeling on him. If he's fine, he'll start. Simple as that. And like you said, he has got some preseason minutes under his belt. Probably the third team after Newcastle and Chelsea when it comes to buying lots of players. Everton. Was there anything in particular about the new boys, about their kind of fitness to start, or any other injuries?
Yeah, so the big one, I guess, based on last season's prices, not so much this season, but Holgate was a popular budget option last year. He's gone up in price this time, but he looks like he's definitely out. So Ancelotti said, I think he'll be out. I don't think there's any thinking about it. I think it's pretty much known that he won't play. And I've seen reports this morning that he might be out for up to 6 weeks. It hasn't been officially verified yet. But Mina's back, which should mean that he'll slot in alongside Keane. So maybe no place for Branthwaite, who's again 4 million this season, but very much fourth in line, I think, in that centre half pecking order. If anything happens to Mina, then he's probably straight in there. But he's Mina and Gomez should be involved in the matchday squad at least. Delph's going to have a late assessment. Not that he'll be interested in many people. So the new boys, yes. Alan, who's, again, I should look up these pronunciations beforehand. Is it Alan or Alan?
I was just saying Alan.
Yeah. That's the thing about my job, is that I do a lot of writing and watching with the sound off. I don't actually know how these players are pronounced. But he said, Ancelotti said of him last weekend, after he signed, that he'll be fine for Tottenham. So I think he may be thrown straight in. Doucouré arrived later, so that was this week. Now, he was playing as recently as July for Watford, so he's got Premier League know-how, and he's got a good engine on him. You know, he's box to box. I think that's what they signed him for. So he may be straight in. If not, then it won't be long before we see him. I think my main concern, if I was looking at new Everton players, would be James at the moment. Now, he started one league match in the last 11 months, so it's a big ask of him to go straight into a high-tempo league, especially against Spurs away. And I wonder if he's going to be gently introduced into the fray from the bench. Certainly, if you look at his match sharpness over the last year, he's been peripheral, playing in the odd cup game for Real, but barely featuring in the league. So it'll be a tall order for him to go straight in, especially hasn't had any action in pre-season. He was another one who arrived this week. So I wouldn't be counting on him starting if you were looking at him. And he has got a bit to do to prove, I guess, because he was the golden boy of Colombia for several years. Big things expected of him, but has tailed off since then. Maybe this will renew him and lead to a renaissance. And 7.5 million would be great if he does recapture that form of his younger years. But for now, for me, it would be a wait and see on him, I think.
Yeah, I think at some point he's going to be dominating set pieces. Probably going to take a few of them off Digne. Got the Rodriguez and Mina connection as well. There's bound to be a goal off a corner from those two. But yeah, it's probably right. I think they can probably not do without him because he's such a good player. But if Gomez is back and Doucouré and Allen can play from the start, then all they really need is someone to play on the right. And you know, with
Walcott,
yeah, exactly. With Richarlison left and Calvert-Lewin up front, they're pretty much sorted. So I guess they don't want to injure him before he even gets going. So yeah, maybe they'll bed him in slowly. What about Arsenal? Are you brave enough to tell us whether Saka is going to be a regular starter, or do you just think there's way too much competition in those wide positions?
I think I've probably over-egged his rotation risk in the past because Arteta keeps finding a way for him to start in whatever position, whether it be as a wing back or he played on the right of a front three last season occasionally. I think he's even played centrally as well on one or two occasions. I couldn't call that for certain. I think he could start this weekend. There's a good chance of that because Arsenal's down several centre halves. So Chambers, Pablo Mari, and Mustafi are the longer term ones. We knew about them already. Socrates won't make this. He wasn't really featuring under Arteta anyway. Got a calf problem. David Luiz, who was featuring under Arteta, he was a regular. He's out now with a neck spasm. Don't know how long for, but he's apparently responding to treatment. So they have now got, I wouldn't say a shortage at centre half, but suddenly they're having to consider the likes of Holden, who was linked with the move away. The two new boys, so Gabriel and Saliba. Now, whether you throw them straight in, I mean, you may have to do that with one of them. Gabriel being the more experienced centre half, it might be him. But yeah, the reason I suggest Saka could start at left wing back is if Tierney's needed at centre half. That's assuming they play a back three, of course, because we've seen a back four in pre-season. But yeah, I mean, Saka has sort of confounded my expectations. I thought, they've brought Willian in, they've got Pepe there, but he started ahead of a lot of the senior players. Obviously not Willian, who's just arrived, but back at the end of last season, he was preferred to a number of the more senior options wherever on the pitch. So he's going to get the odd benching. There's no doubt about that. And he's not someone to count on for regular, like consistent starts every single game in the way that Aubameyang is. And he is $1 million more expensive than he was last season. So whether people will still overlook those odd benchings for 5.5, whereas he definitely would for 4.5.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it would put me off. But he's definitely capable of stringing together some attacking returns, as we saw, especially from assists. And yeah, it'll be interesting to see how he sends them out on Saturday lunchtime, and whether Willian features. Arteta said today that him and Gabriel have settled in fine. So we haven't seen any of them in pre-season. We haven't had any sort of reported friendlies. They've all been sort of behind closed doors. So we're not really sure how they're gonna line up.
Yeah, I just quickly my opinion. I think Saka, you're right, he's definitely a favourite. Like, always seems to find a way to put him in, but really you want him in those attacking positions. And if Aubameyang's going to stick to the left, there's so much competition for that right-sided space. You just don't know if he's always going to fit in. And with the defence, if you're not going Tierney, and even I don't personally like him either, but I just think it's so risky to go for an Arsenal centre-back. If they don't play, you're then stuck soon with Liverpool, Sheffield United, Man City, Leicester, Man United, all in a row. It just doesn't seem worth the risk to me, but each to their own, of course. We better talk about Wolves. Everyone's asking in the chat about Wolves. Surprise about Vinagre in particular. Did Nuno mention anything about him or Marçal in the press conference? Obviously, Marçal is the new sign in there that can play left back and left centre back, I believe.
Yeah, not Vinagre by name, but he did mention the two new boys, and encouragingly, we hope. His coach said that the two new recruits will need to be given time to integrate into the squad. So that is possibly a good omen for Vinagre in the short term. Whether he's a threat in the longer term, then it remains to be seen. Because I know Marçal can also play as a left-sided centre half. So yeah, there's all sorts of rumours flying about right now, isn't there, about Vinagre? Whether they're even going to sell him, which doesn't seem the wisest move, given that they've already lost Doherty to Spurs and then Johnny to injury. So I'd expect to see a few more recruits, especially at right wing back, in the coming weeks. But there was words from Nuno, who was again short on actual team news, but encouraging. I would suggest, certainly for game week 1, and that he's suggesting the two new signings are going to be needed time to get to grips with the Wolves system. So maybe I agree.
Yeah, I think ultimately Vinagre, if you put him in, you're risking that he doesn't play long term. But if he does, it's huge to get a 4.5 million Wolves defender, I think. So it might be worth the risk. I listened to a Wolves podcast actually on The Athletic, and it was a guy called Tim Spears, and he was kind of saying that Nuno actually likes quite a small squad. So basically he said if the price was right, they would probably sell Vinagre. They're going for like a Chelsea model. So if they can buy players cheap and then get rid of them for a profit, happy days. So it depends on the price, and obviously, there's links to Porto, but I think they're kind of strapped for cash at the moment, so I'm not sure they'd even be able to buy him. So we'll have to wait and see. People talking about Burr in the chat. I don't know what you think, but I think there's more chance of Traore playing right wing back than there is of Burr starting. Right? He's
an option, and I think Tim Spears was the guy, funnily enough, who caused that pandemonium on Twitter when he said that Burr's going to start at right wing back. But he then said, like a day later, that he was being tongue in cheek. He's a young prospect. He'll probably get game time there in maybe the cup games and Carabao Cup, but be a big tall order for him to be thrown straight into a Premier League match without any kind of previous experience. So I think it'll be Traore this weekend, and then I'll expect them to reinforce in that position, I think.
Yeah, that's the player I'm most interested in. Who comes in and plays right back or right wing back for Wolves? Do you want to? We'll just rattle through the rest. I think we've covered most of the ones anyway. I think there's like Brighton, Sheffield United, teams like that left.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, Brighton, that's easy. Fully fit squad. Although again, I think Potter's neglecting to mention Izquierdo because he's just always injured. Just Fulham again. Injury news didn't crop up in the press conference with Scott Parker, which was yesterday. He said that Seri and Anguissa, who've both been out on loan last season, everyone starts from scratch. They've got a chance to work their way back into the first team full, but I think they've just come back into the building. Those are Parker's words, so it doesn't sound like they're in contention this weekend. They have signed a new right back, but he arrived on Thursday, so I think that might be a bit of a short turnaround. Leeds, I don't think we've covered yet. So they are at Liverpool tomorrow. Clean bill of health, apart from a long-term absentee who's Adam Forshaw, who's got this hip issue. Bielsa said that Rodrigo and Robin Koch are integrating well. They're in very good physical condition, those were his words. And he, maybe crucially, said that the spot on the right of the defence in the back four does not require a lot of adapting. So he could be thrown straight in there. I know there's a lot of talk of Ealon moving to right-sided centre-half, Dallas coming over to right-back, and then one of Douglas or Alioski playing at left-back. But it might be that the new German stopper, whose name I'll try not to overuse, is thrown straight into it alongside Cooper at centre-half. They'll just mention that a few players are touch and go and then not elaborate. So he didn't name names. But we do know that Sander Berger came back from international duty with a knee problem. So he could be amongst that one or two that he's talking about. O'Connell hasn't played anything of pre-season, but just last weekend, when Sheffield United had their last warm-up match, he said he'll be 100% fit for their Wolves game on Monday. So sounds like he's fine if we're taking Wilder's word for it. Moussier came off with a toe problem, but again, Wilder said after the match that he'll be fine with a bit of treatment. So we don't know who the other names are that he's referring to there. Southampton, a bit of a blow for them because I think theirs is one of the more predictable sides. A starting 11 anyway. But one of that number, Stuart Armstrong, who I've seen a lot of people mention as a $5.5 million midfielder. He's out. He's come back from international duty with Scotland with a thigh injury. So we don't know how long he's going to be out for. But he's the one name that Hasenhüttl's mentioned. So it could be Gineppo, it could be Boufal, or as might be the case, given how long them team have been out, Will Smallbone is a bit of a coverall player. He's sort of backup for the number 6 roles. He can play further forward, even if it's not really his position. So it could be him or Gineppo in that role behind the front two. But I think the rest of that team is fairly predictable with, I think, Adams up top alongside Ings. Spurs, I don't think we've covered, have we? I don't think we've covered Spurs.
No, I didn't know if they'd done a press conference. I didn't see anything about them.
Yeah, well, Mourinho's I haven't actually seen yet. I'll full disclosure, but I haven't seen any headlines coming out of that. If I do, then I'll bring you up to speed on a roundup. Lo Celso, I know, hasn't featured in pre-season, so I think reporters were seeking clarification on his situation because he was in the end of the season he was featuring sort of where Ali usually plays, like not in the number 10 spot, but long term you think he'll be further back. I think they've just got, it'll just be question marks over whether the likes of Doherty's ready to start because he's a relatively late arrival. Then he went away with Ireland on international duty, so he hasn't actually featured in pre-season for Spurs. But the bulk of that team looks settled to me. Dyer and Alderweireld are sort of fast becoming his go-to partnership, I think, with Sanchez brought in if he needs pace. We know Højbjerg's going to start in front of the back four because he's the midfield spoiler. Son and Kane probably going to start more matches than not. Lucas Moura nailed down that right spot for much of the post-lockdown period. Bergwijn will come in. So it's I guess it's just sussing out whether Doherty's ready to go from the off. And I'll look into that this afternoon after I've come off air. West Brom. West Brom I haven't actually heard for because Bilic was penciled in for 1:30, and I hadn't actually seen his press conference yet. So again, I'll look into that for you. I don't suppose many people are going to be interested, regardless. Maybe Pereira will be the one name that people want clarification on, but I'll see if I can get anything on them. And I think that's pretty much it because we've covered West Ham and Wolves. So my two on my hit list are Spurs and West Brom, and I'll promise you I'll get you updates on those if you head to Fantasy Football Scout for the rest of today, and I'll be getting the team news tab updated. I'll be tweeting anything that comes out, any headline injury news, and there'll be the team news roundup at 5. So keep you posted on that.
Yeah, lots of news still to come potentially, and obviously we'll have it all on the site and on the FF Scout Twitter as well for any news that comes out. Just to answer a few things from the chat. So someone's asking where you can get the league code from. If you click on the members area, I believe the league code's there. You don't have to be a member to see that section. But obviously, if you want to use any of the tools and stuff like that, you can sign up to be a member now. Go and have a look at all the stats, the comparison tools. There's Rate My Team tool if you're unsure about certain players as well. So if you want to check that out, click that link in the description below, and that should take you straight through to it. Otherwise, people talking about Vinagre, we've talked about that. You'll have to go back and watch it. Basically, he's probably going to start Game Week 1. Otherwise, he's probably a risk. Neale, thanks very much as always for joining me this week.
Thanks, Andy. Yeah, good luck, everybody.
And we'll be back next week when Neale will fully predict correctly 100% the Man City team for their first game. But thanks for watching. Good luck with getting the drafts locked and loaded. Just for video-wise, we've already put out a video with Sam reviewing her team this morning or this afternoon. There'll be another one from Karam later on this evening about 8 o'clock. And then tomorrow at 9:30 in the morning, there'll be a quick breakfast club as well with me and Luke ahead of the deadline. Otherwise, I'm going to leave it there. Like, comment, share, subscribe as well, and we'll catch you again soon. Cheers all.